Okay. So in the last session, we have seen what are the different subscription options are available within the cloud for customers. And most of the clients are using SaaS subscription. That's what we discussed. When we look at landscape of the instances, so we get by default 2 instances. Those we use for the purpose of testing and production. During the course of implementation, we use test instance to do the setups and to test the business scenarios, to take the acceptance from the client. Once everything is finalized, we'll move to the production. That is, one client will use it. Apart from that, if we require any additional instances, we can get from Oracle. You may use it for development or any other purposes. So the instances what we are discussing as a test, development, production, these all instances are related to real time. Apart from that, you may come across with instance called as vision instance. Vision instance purely for training or practice purpose. Within the vision instance, you can find the sample data with the company name called as vision. But in these instances, you don't find any sample data. These all are fresh instances. We have to create the data. It could be transaction or setup. We have to do it. So along with this, we discussed about user creation. To kickstart system configuration, we have to create user with the full privileges. If you want to create the user with the full privileges, we need access to application implementation consultant and IT security manager. The application implementation consultant role we are using to perform the setups, and IT security manager role we are using to create the users and role assignments. As a part of implementation, we create multiple users. For every functional area, we create separate users like FinIMPL, SEMIMPL. Our name could be different. Most of the case, every areas of consultant will have their own username. Accordingly, they'll start working on the system configuration. There would be default user for every instance. Earlier, Oracle used to share, but nowadays they are not doing since people are changing the password and all. So FSM stands for Function Setup Manager. So to perform the setups. If application implementation consultant role is assigned to user, the user will get access to FSM. Within the FSM, we can perform the setups. To get access to security console, we need IT security manager role. And the roles what we are discussing, those are delivered by Oracle. That is the reason we call as seeded roles. Seeded roles means Oracle provided roles, Oracle delivered roles, which you can find always in any instance. This is all about we discussed, and we created a user and we verified the user is able to access to FSM and security console. That too we tested. In today's session, let's focus on FSM. So what we have to understand from FSM? So when I talk about FSM, within the FSM, the different product families we discussed, these all product families, as per FSM, we call as offerings. Just we should aware of this terminology. So these all we call as offerings. Okay, these all we call as offerings. Financials is offering, SCM is the offering, procurement, PPM, CRM, HCM, these all we call as offerings. So if you call financials as offering, what about applications inside of financials? Take example of different applications. Let me write the applications here. GL, AP, AR, CM, and FA. If you take example of these applications, each application as per FSM, functional setup manager, we call as option. So during the implementation or when it comes to the customer or client, they take the subscription for specific offerings and again within the offering for particular options. Your client may choose offering called as financials, but within the financials, the requirement may be for GL, AP, and fixed assets. As per their business process, they may not require AR and CM. Yes, the option is available, they can choose it. Any offering they can choose within the offering, what are the different applications? Different applications, we have those they can choose as per their need. So this is what we have to understand, offerings and options. If you take supply chain management applications that we are calling as offering, within SCM, we have a different applications, inventory, order management, purchasing, and few other applications. This all we call as a different options. Applications we are calling as options, and product families we are calling as offerings. That's it. When you get access to fresh instance, the very first step is create your own user. Once you are ready with your user, you have to enable offerings and options as per the project scope. So your project scope is implementing financials, SCM, and procurement. Now you have to go and enable financials, SCM, procurement offerings. And within those offerings, what different options are subscribed by client, those we have to enable. The very first step after creating your user is enable offerings and options. Enable offerings and options. After enabling offerings and options, we have to create implementation project. Here, don't take implementation project name as this to find out the meaning of implementation project. It is not at all related to implementation project, the complete process which you follow. This is purely related to setup part. To manage your setups which are part of implementation, you can just use this. If you talk about project lifecycle management, that is different. Okay, we initiate the project and we do the planning, we do the execution, and again there will be monitoring and control and closing the project. That is a project lifecycle management. Within the project lifecycle management, we have a execution management where we involve as a consultants. Within the execution management, we gather the requirement and we design the solution, we build the solution, the system, we help the client to understand the product, we provide the training, and we'll help them to start using the system. There are many steps involved within that. In the execution management, one of the activity is performing the setups in the system. Performing the setups in the system. That concept, that activity, here we are calling as implementation project. Your implementation project, the purpose of implementation project is to perform setups in system. That's it. You don't align this term with the reality. As per Fusion applications, implementation project meaning is to perform the setups. To perform the setups within our instance. This is the terminology we are using. Okay, to perform the setups. To perform the setups in the system, we have to create implementation project. After creating implementation project, you can select what are the offerings and options you are going to implement into your implementation project. So select offerings, the options into implementation project. Select offerings and options into implementation project. That's what we have to do. Select offerings and options into your implementation project. Once you're done with that, you can start doing the setups. And another point is when you select offerings and options into implementation project, let me complete this project. When you select offerings and options into implementation project, the system can generate the task list. Say system generates task list. What does it mean by task list? Say you selected offering called as financials. Within the offering, you selected all the options. Now system will generate the task list. Task list is nothing but list of setups which we have to perform to implement entire financials, or you can say each and every application. System will create separate task list for AP. If you want to implement AP, what setups need to be performed? That list it generates. For every application, system generates the list of setups that we call as task list. System generates task list. Then we can start working on the configuration. Okay, we can do the setups. So this is what we have to understand. There are a few more points which are aligned with the same topic. We'll discuss. As of now, just you take these as a key activities, what we are going to do as a part of FSM, Functional Setup Manager. So first, enable offerings and options. Create your implementation project to perform the setups. If you want to perform the setup should be available in the project. For that, we have to select offerings and options into implementation project, and system creates task list and you can perform the setups. Why we are enabling offerings and options? If you don't enable offerings and options, you cannot select those offerings and options into implementation project. Say you enabled only these two offerings, financials and SCM. At the time of your implementation project, if you want to select procurement, you cannot find it. The enabled offerings and options would be available to select into your implementation project. That is the reason always we have to look at the scope of the implementation. What are the areas we are going to implement for the client? Accordingly, we have to enable the offerings and options. Nothing wrong if you enable everything. As per the license or subscription, we will implement and client will use it. If you are enabling, nothing goes wrong. You can enable all also, but you will be using. So where you are, for which area you have a license. This is what we have to understand. Okay, there are a few other points related to that. First, we will go through this and we'll talk about more detail level. So before we jump into the instance, any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, I have one question. So when on line 131, you said this Ganesh system generates task list.
No, your voice is not in the same pace, just it's some fluctuation.
It's not coming out clearly?
Yeah, it's not coming clearly.
Okay. I'll put in my speaker. Give me a couple.
Yeah, please. Yeah, meantime, any questions from others? Okay.
Lakshman, Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So when you say I can enable offering, but then for enabling options and offerings and options, I don't need to pay license fee. Only when you use it, I have to pay the license fee, right?
Yes. For enabling, not required. When you are not going to use those for your business, probably we don't enable, but by performing the action called as enabling, we don't need to pay anything.
Okay. And secondly, in create implementation project, that is the person setup and system. He said something here. I just missed it. I missed that two lines actually. The create implementation project. Can you just repeat that one more time?
Okay. Say, I want to do the setups. If I want to do the setups, I want to list out which setups I want to do. For that time, we are creating implementation project. That's it. I want to do financial setups, SCM setups, procurement setups. I want to group these three offerings so that every time I can just enter into that project, the financials, SCM, procurement tool would be available, not any other offerings. Since I'm working on these three areas, I can do the setups by connecting to that project. So implementation project concept will enable you to perform the setups in the system. That's all. Take this point. Still, if it is not clear, no worries. We are going to see that.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, great. Any other questions, please?
This Ganesh, so on line 31, you said system generator. So these are mandatory setups that are required, or all the setups that can be done in system?
All the setups.
Mandatory and non-mandatory.
Optional. Everything.
Optional.
Everything. Yeah.
Then we have to decide what needs to be done.
There you could see which is a mandatory, which is optional by default.
Yeah.
Depending on what you are implementing, which is optional as per system, it may be mandatory since we are implementing so and so concept that we can take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a decision we can make, but it lists out everything. Okay.
It lists out everything. It displays which is mandatory if you want to implement payables or receivables.
Yeah.
Both you can see. Out of all
Okay.
the tasks, which is mandatory, which is optional, you can see with the star mark, which is
Okay.
mandatory.
Thank you.
And again, you will see all the tasks mostly in the sequence. By following which sequence, you have to complete the setups. That's how you can.
Got it. Perfect.
Lakshman sir,
Yeah.
this trading community architecture where you define this suppliers and customers and third parties.
That is there. Same as EBS, as this solution is available in the Fusion House.
Okay.
Yeah,
So this comes under, this is not a module, but this is basically one of those setups that is
you don't need to select as an offering or options.
Okay.
To support your different applications. That is a kind of environment we have. That is
okay.
Yeah.
But why not procurement is part of supply chain management? I'm sorry to ask this question because procurement should be a part of supply chain management, isn't it? Actually,
procurement is not part of supply chain management by default. Purchasing is a part of supply chain management. Your advanced purchasing we are calling as a procurement. When you say SCM includes purchasing also, not very primarily as a secondary. When you say SCM, inventory and order management, supply chain management. To manage your supply chain activities, what application primarily require? Inventory and order management.
Right.
To source the items, say you are supplying to the customers and you don't, if you have a stock, okay, or else you are producing, maybe you can get into inventory and you can supply to customers. If there is any shortage, there is no production from your end, there should be function to support your procurement activities that can be possible only from purchasing.
Correct. That you do drop shipment, drop shipment. That's when you drop shipment.
It could be any shipment. See, shipment is the concept where you drop the shipping directly, direct the process to your customers and all.
Correct.
Right. So it could be anything. See, you source and you ship, or else you keep in touch with the supplier to direct that stock to your customers. Okay. It could be any approach. That is one of the approach.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You
talk about standard process. SCM, yes, you can think SCM includes basic purchasing, but if you are going to focus your company more driven into various procurement activities, there will be sourcing team, there will be purchasing team, there will be kind of procurement, and you want to interact with the suppliers online, iPortal. In those scenarios, you can go with the procurement. Your requirement is just a simple purchasing function. Okay, where you just purchase and you sell and all these activities, you don't need to go with the procurement. Purchasing is enough, which would be part of your SCM. Yeah, so more diversified, like the different functional areas within the procurement. Then you can opt for procurement. Yeah, you see, like many organizations we use as SCM. Very few organizations go with the procurement. So very advanced in procurement.
Right.
Done. Any other questions, please? Okay, no questions. So now we'll see how to enable the offerings and options and creating implementation project and so on, so what we discussed. So here is the instance where we created our user in the last session. Now, I'll go to just home page. You can click on this logo. This is the logo. When we do the implementation, we can replace with our client logo here. This is just logo only. Now click on username. Okay, click on username. What we are going to do? So we are going to, I think, what is the user we created? FinIMPL? No, this I created before session. Cloud ERP we created, right? Yes, the last session, this is the user we created, Cloud ERP. To enable offerings and options, click on username and it opens this panel. Now please select task called as setup and maintenance. If you hit this setup and maintenance task, it will take you to FSM, Functional Setup Manager. Hit this link. And we are in the FSM homepage. You can say this is the FSM homepage, Functional Setup Manager homepage. From here, you can perform the setups. So we have two options. Without creating implementation project, we can do the setups. By creating the implementation project, we can perform the setups. And there is slight difference. And there are some advantages if you create implementation project. That is the reason we are going to create implementation project. So once we create implementation project, start doing the setups through implementation project, I will cover how to do the setups without implementation project and what are the different options we have to do the setups. What makes the difference between those options, we will discuss everything. Now our target is enabling offerings and options from FSM. Here you can see actions, click on the drop down and find go to offerings action. Select go to offerings. When you select go to offerings, you could see all the offerings which are available within the instance or environment or pod. Within this environment, you can see all the offerings whatever available within the instance. So these are the different offerings available. When you talk about our financial, here is our financials. And we have procurement here. The finance and procurement, you can see always as grouped, but remaining what we discussed, those you don't see as a group. If you talk about SCM, supply chain management, it consists of inventory, purchasing, and order management applications.
Order management.
Yeah, order management applications. But what Oracle did is, when they started introducing this fusion, okay, when they started introducing the fusion, in the first phase, they introduced HCM, Human Capital Management. Later, they introduced financials. After that, they introduced procurement. And later, again, after a procurement, they just came up with SCM, then PPM. That's how the releases are evolved. So that is the reason when you look at SCM offering, you don't see the name exactly as SCM. How they released in the series of releases, accordingly you can see in the instance. Now you see order management as a separate offering. That means they released it as a separate offering, even it is a part of SCM offering. And you have to take purchasing application from procurement. When we are going to implement the solution for SCM, you select order management. From procurement, you pick purchasing application. And to support your inventory, okay, to support your inventory, we use product management. Okay, product management, PLM, product lifecycle management. There are many things which we deal with the product management. You can say it's a tree related to product. There are many branches. One of the branch supports your item creation, which is nothing but inventory. So that's how we have. So from product management, we have to select for inventory management purpose or item management or other relevant activities. So if you combine this order management, procurement, product management, that you call as SCM related solution here. And if you talk about PPM, project portfolio management, they have two sub classifications. So those here you can see. So project execution management, which mostly deals with managing the projects. Okay, what activities we are going to do, what is the project plan, and assigning the resource to that, and just setting the timelines, all those activities. It's all about execution management. Being a project manager, somebody can able to manage the project. They can create the complete project plan, and they can just keep tracking the progress of the project. For that, you use the project execution management. Primarily within the project execution management, to execute project, what we require, project plan is required, and resources are required. So those and activities, task management, and the deliverables management. Okay, there are many other like elements which when we talk about project management, many things will come into picture. Okay, there are task management, time management, kind of budget, resource management, risk and mitigation. There are a lot of stuff. So those all can be managed by using the project execution management. When it comes to financials, project financial management, here you deal with the primary applications called as project costing, billing, and project contracts. If you are from EBS background, in EBS we have project costing and billing. Within the billing application, we have billing and contracts, agreements. But in the Fusion, they're just separated. We have a project costing application, project billing application. So contracts, they're given separate application which deals with all the contracts. It could be project related contracts, or a service related contracts, or procurement related contracts. Enterprise contracts management application we are using. From that, we use the function called as project contracts for projects application purpose. In project financial management, we just use the different applications like costing, billing, and project contracts very primarily. The budgeting and all this we do with the execution. The same is applicable for financials. This is all about project financial management. So this is how you may not see the exact names what we discussed. That is the reason I'm trying to give the clarity. Okay, the reason in one go they didn't release the applications. In one go they didn't release the applications. That is the reason how they released, how the product is evolved in terms of releasing into the market. Accordingly, you can see the offerings. Now, so when you talk about our financials, you can just click on this icon. Don't click on the name, click on icon. It will display the description of the financials, what we have inside of the financials. Inside of the financials, we have assets, nothing but fixed assets application. Already we discussed the names, what are the applications we have as a part of financials. So assets means fixed assets application. When you refer the term called as ledger, it always when you look at the term called as ledger, always it refers general ledger application, but don't call general ledger means ledger. Okay, they're just giving hint ledgers. Ledgers can be managed by using the application called as general ledger. General ledger is different, ledger is different. Within the general ledger application, ledger is the one of the concept. And cash cycle. So cash cycle means cash management application. Invoices and payments refers accounts payable application, and account receivables application directly they given the name. And we have a few other applications also like collections application. The basic collections you can manage within the accounts receivable. If you want to go with advanced collections, we have advanced collection management separate application. And in any application, if you want to create accounting, in payables, you created invoice and payment. You want to create accounting, that system should take care. For that, we have a subledger accounting method. The subledger accounting method will help us to create accounting entries in the system, which is automated. You no need to create any entries through manual process. If you are doing the implementation for countries where taxation is applicable, you should be able to complete the tax related complaints, tax needs. Okay, you have to create the as per the tax complaints in the so country, you have to define the tax rules. For that, we have a tax configuration. That is separate application we call as fusion tax. Okay, fusion tax is separate application. Say you are going to do the implementation for US. When you do the implementation for US, so there are tax rules. So you have to calculate the tax location specific. You have to calculate the tax at state level, county level, and city level. These are the 3 levels you calculate the tax. If you take Europe countries, you calculate the tax mostly at country level. There are no other levels. So to support all these different business requirements related to taxation and country, the localizations, okay, localizations, we have to set up tax in the system. For that, we can use the tax configuration. We will see in our classes. We will see in our classes how we can configure the tax, how the sub-ledger accounting works. So everything we'll go through, we'll discuss, and we'll see in the system, and we'll run the process flows. So this is how it is available. Now the instance what we are using is, it's a practice instance. That is the reason already it's enabled. If it is a fresh instance, you see the status as not enabled. When you see the status as not enabled, just click on opt-in features. In fresh instances, always you see the status as not enabled. We should enable so that by using that offering, you will be able to perform the setups by selecting that offering into implementation project. So just click on opt-in features. So it will take us to the page. From that page, you can enable it. But now we could see it's enabled. You see here, enabled. In case of fresh instance, you don't see it as enabled. You see as a disabled mode. So you see in the disabled mode, and you can go and enable. First, what we have to do is we have to enable these financials. After enabling financials, inside of the financials, what are the different applications we have, or you say options we have, those we have to enable. When you enable financials, by default, you get general ledger application. Okay, so general ledger application builds ground for financials application. If there is no financials application, if there is no general ledger application, no financials application can be used. So that is the reason you can say general ledger application is the base application if you want to use financials or any other applications also for matter. So when you enable general financials application, automatically system will take general ledger. You see here, even I didn't enable, general ledger is default by default selected. Okay, you get general ledger along with the financials. No choice for you. If you say I don't want to use general ledger, that means you don't want to use financials or any other applications. And supplier invoice processing is nothing but it refers our payables application, accounts payable. The name they are giving within the FSM as a supplier invoice processing. When you start working on applications, you see as a accounts payable only. So within the FSM, they are giving the name as supplier invoice processing. This is one of the option or one of the application. The application you can call as a module also. Okay, supplier invoice processing is nothing but one of the module or option or option what I can say module or application or option offering option. So instead of giving as accounts payables, they are giving as a supplier invoice processing. That's what you have to understand. So when you choose supplier invoice processing to implement, you get by default all these. Suppliers, payables means invoices, payments, and cash management and banking. It is nothing but your cash management application. Nothing but your cash management application. You get access to cash management application if you enable supplier invoice processing. Nothing but payables. Why? From payables, if you want to make the payments, you need bank accounts. Bank accounts are owned by cash management. So that is the reason they incorporated the supplier cash management application within the payables application. Okay, so that's how you can see. And expense is separate application. Employee expenses, yes, we will see as a part of our course. So how to create expense reports, how those can be approved. Finally, how it goes to payables application as a request to make the payments, and how to process the employee advances. You know, like if you are working, you might have experience with this process where you spend some expense, you submit the organization for reimbursement process, or else you may get advance. It completely depends on company policy. You may get advance when you are traveling, or else you may spend from your pocket and later you can reimburse. So whatever you are doing in your organization related to employee expenses, that you can manage by using the expense application. You can call it as Oracle Fusion Expense application, Fusion Expense, which we have as a I expense in EBS. In EBS, what we call as I expense, that here we are calling as not just I expense, because everything became I in the Fusion, because everything through internet only we are accessing. So there are no forms, etc., everything web pages. So now they removed I, simply they are calling as Oracle Fusion Expenses. And fixed assets is another application, as we discussed, within the financials product family. So with the fixed assets, as we discussed, you can create assets and you can manage assets information, you can calculate depreciation, you can do the retirements and adjustments, etc., etc. Customer invoice processing refers receivables application. Okay, accounts receivable application. Within that, here you can see receivables. It means you can create the sales invoices and receipts. And in the receivables, when you receive the customer payments, we need bank account details. Again, cash management is part of receivables application. It is a part of payables as well as receivables. In payables, we need bank accounts. So payables, cash management is a part. In receivables, we need bank accounts. When you receive the payments from customer, we have to specify the received customer payments we are going to remit to which bank. So bank definitions are available. So that's how we use. The items also is a part of customer invoice processing. When we are going to sell the goods to the customers, what are the stock you are maintaining within the inventory, you should be able to access. That's how that is mapped, that is connected with the receivables application. Collections is a separate application. Okay, collection management, delinquent customers, and to manage to keep in touch with the customers. Like there are many other things which you can do related to collection process. So you can use a collection application. Revenue management also separate application. So we call as a Oracle Fusion Revenue Management Cloud solution. That's a separate one. Intercompany is not an application, it's a kind of feature within our organization. Say you have a 20 branches. Across the branches, you may have a transactions. Or else you have just 2 companies. Between the companies, we may have a transaction. Reality, companies established to do the business with the suppliers and customers. But there could be need where you have to do some kind of activities, adjusting activities. Say you have a 2 branches. There is one order for 1 branch, but stock is not available. They may take the stock from other branch and they may get adjusted in the process of supplying to customers. Or else one branch may take some service from another branch. Those all comes under internal activities. Those are not intended to business. So you have to manage all the internal transactions between your branches as intercompany transactions. That is one of the feature. And budgetary control and encumbrance. Okay, if you want to set a control on the kind of expense what you are incurring in day out, so you can use the budgetary control concept. So with the budgetary control, we will be able to enforce the control on specific spendings. So you can set a rule like in Jan 2023 and some maintenance expense should not exceed $10,000. This is how you can set a control. And no one can spend more than that. If you allow them, yes, they can spend. And the system will give the message you are exceeding the budget limit. To manage those, we can use the budgetary control. When you talk about encumbrance accounting, you can set the control. Apart from that, you can generate the accounting also whenever there is some budget related transaction is triggered. Other area is purely related to reporting kind of thing, business intelligence and analytics. You can just get the data like what are the transactions you are recording. Accordingly, data would be generated. That can be just pumped into OBIE, Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition. That is one of the solution for reporting capabilities. We will work on it, how to prepare OTBA reports and all we'll see. So by using that, into that server, there will be separate server for this in the Fusion application. The data will be just, data will sync with this business intelligence server environment so that you can conduct the analysis and you can generate some sort of reports. For that, they're given all this. Okay. So this is how the different options are available. All the time may not be options. Those could be sub option or it could be some certain features. But primarily how to look at offering means it consists of options. Along with that, sometimes there may be something else, but you can opt whatever you require. Okay. So here, this is all just you disable and you enable and all. Okay. Now just for practice purpose, I'm disabling. Reality, when you come to this page, this is how you see this. Okay, nothing you see as enable. Whatever you require, you can enable. But generally, what we do is we never worry about what exactly we need at the time of enabling. Simply we enable everything. Whatever we require, we will use it. Even if you enable, if you go and enable fixed assets, if fixed assets is not in the scope of your implementation, you are not going to touch. If you enable, what's wrong? Nothing wrong. You can enable everything. But when you play with those, you play with what you have to play with. So this is what we have to understand. Okay. In the fresh instance, you may enable everything. No worries. There won't be any harm. You can enable everything. So first enable financials. So inside what you have, you can enable. I'm enabling financials. Then it will allow us to enable. So other options or sub options or specific functions sometimes is all you can enable and you can proceed. Any questions here, please? No questions. Now, so here, when you look at these financials, you can find the futures column. By default, you get everything here. Oracle is enabling and they are just providing these offerings, but still you can go and see. Say, for example, you are implementing for one of the client who is in the US, and you, on top of this financials application, you want to implement GRC, governance, risk and complaints. If you want to implement, you can go to finance here, futures. So you have to choose the row as a financials, click on futures. Click on features, it will display all the features which are available. So you can enable governance, risk and compliance. Okay, so you can enable it so that you will be able to implement these for on top of your financials. The same way if you are working for some public sector organizations, public sector client. So here you can set relevant options. So go to public sector and you can set how the budgeting should be applicable for public sector and all. You can enable, just you need budgetary control only, or you need budget controlling and encumbrance. Encumbrance accounting is nothing but when you have a budget, when you perform budget related transactions, you want to create accounting entries also. By default, there won't be any accounting for budgetary control. It will watch what is the limit, what are the spendings. That is a watch system will enable. On top of it, if you want to generate accounting for such specific events, you can enable encumbrance accounting. So how you are going to solution to the client accordingly, the additional stuffing you can do from here. But these are the points you have to understand. Okay, yeah, there is nothing much to think. Simply you have to enable offering. Inside of the offering, what are the options are available, you have to enable. Then we can say we are ready. In the same way, along with the financials, you may enable offerings and options based on what are the applications are in the scope. Simply you can hit on done. So we'll go back to the previous page. And if you want to enable other offerings and options, same process. Select. I selected procurement. Click on opt-in features. Just click on opt-in features. It will display as a part of procurement solution. What are the offerings are within the finance procurement offering? What are the different options are available? Just we'll try to get the basic insight about this procurement offering, what we have, since we are going to work on the basics of procurement purchasing. So within the procurement offering, you see here, we have a purchasing application and we have self-service procurement, which is equal to iProcurement application. And you have supplier portal, nothing but iSupplier, and sourcing application, procurement contracts, so and so. And here also that business intelligence analysis capabilities you can use for the data, whatever the transactions you are going to create within the procurement, you can just pump the data into the BA related environments. So this is how just you can enable the different offerings and options as per project scope. If you select financials, we are able to see the description of the financials and we are enabled to opt in features. What is this new features? So what Oracle is doing is every quarter they are coming up with some patches. Patches means to fix the bugs, issues what we have in the product and to introduce some new features also. Okay, by combining this compressed solution of fixing the bugs and introducing some new functionalities or some enhancements every quarterly, it's a regular very regular cycle quarterly. Okay, so quarterly cycle they follow. Every quarter they introduce some new functionalities or new enhancements or some bug fixing stuff. So whenever they release, it's mandatory, every client has to accept it. Everything will be smooth. Just we can they'll inform us mostly every quarter beginning in the first week they do this activity and they'll inform us and they just do it. It's a simple task, just kind of one tab click for them. So our environment always will keep upgrading, okay, to latest with our applicable features and etc. So whatever introduced in the latest, those you can see here. In the previous, what features we have in the latest patch application, what features are available, those you can see within the instance. I'll just walk through these new features maybe after some time. Now it's very early to get into that and understand. We'll see later. And also a few documents they are publishing. So related documents for financials, associated features. Within the financials offering, what are the different features are available? And to implement financials application, what setups we have to perform. And the business objects and enterprise application doesn't make sense, any sense for us functional people. It is just kind of grouping and all. Anything you want to understand, you can just download the relevant format of the documents. These all are available in the PDF, HTML, Excel format. You can just click on this, it will download and you can see that. But as of now, I don't recommend, you don't need to see. Once we get into the setups and all, that is the right time where you can look into this. And again, by the time you think it is not required also. Just they're given for information. So generally, we never follow that, not required also. So we have to learn and we have to do it. It's not like simple they're given, we can follow that. It's kind of vast. Okay. So maybe after some time, you can just hit any one of the format of link and you can download and you can have a look. Yeah, that you can try. So I'm not required. If you ask me, do I need to look into that? I would say no, not required. Leave it. Let them be as documents. So this is what we have to understand about enabling offerings and options. Another question is, can we enable offerings and options at any point of time? Yes. At any point of time, system will allow you to enable or disable. If you enable, you will be able to select into project. If you disable, that won't be available to select into project. So you enable financials and you create a project. Now you disable. To create new project, it won't be available. For existing project, that will remain as it is. This is what we have to understand. So if you are clear about enabling offerings and options, we'll move on to implementation project creation. Any questions here, please? Good. No questions. Let's see how to create implementation project. We are very clear about implementation project. It is not real implementation. When you say real implementation, there will be activities like project initiation, project planning, execution, right? Monitoring the project, or controlling and monitoring and closing. These are the 5 key steps which we follow as the 5 phases of the implementation. Now we are not talking about 5 phases. Within the 5 phases, one of the phases is execution. In the execution, there are many activities. One of the activities doing the setups. To perform that one activity, we are creating implementation project. Why we are calling as implementation project? Performing the setups is part of implementation project only. That is one activity. That is the reason just they are giving the name as implementation project. So this is what exactly you have to point to. How many implementation projects we have to create? So you are part of implementation project. You are working as a consultant for financials. It's a fresh implementation. Now, how many implementation projects you have to create? If you want to create implementation projects, you have to look at the countries. For how many countries you are doing the implementation. If you are implementing for multiple countries, create multiple projects. Okay, that will make your job very easy. Even you can create one implementation project for multiple countries. There won't be an issue. But when you do the setups, it may create mess. So you are doing the setups for India. Sometimes you may just try to do the setups for US and later for UK. When you are working for 3 countries by using the single project, one time you select something for India, and next time when you are doing the setups for US, you may forget to select what is required for US. Already what you selected for India that may be available in the selection, you may proceed with the setup. That's how you commit with the mistakes. So selection point of view, it will create our job as a little critical. So it's always recommended that you can create separate implementation projects and you do the setups. Here only setups. Projects means not separate projects. Everything is a single project. Maybe you might be doing the global implementation. So maybe single project. You may do implementation at a time or phase by phase. So first one country, later other country, or it could be any approach. It's completely one implementation. But how we are doing the setups? Yes, we have to do the India related setups separately and the US setup separately. And within the database, it will be stored as a separate data. But from front end, in terms of user interface, to go to the pages and to create something, we need project which will navigate us to the right pages to do the setups. For that reason, when you create implementation project, very general, we create separate project for every implementation, every country. So this is what we have to understand. Okay, we are ready with enabled offerings. Let's see how to create implementation project within instance. It's a very easy task. So we navigated to this page. How we are here? We selected user. You have to click on user. Hit this setup and maintenance task so that we can land in FSM page. Now this is the FSM landing page. So in this page, here you can see one icon which resembles notepad, right? Looks like a notepad icon. So within this icon, inside you can find multiple tasks. In Fusion, whatever we do, we call as a task. Everything we call as a task. If you are from EBS background, there we call as function. In EBS, we call as function. That's how here everything we call as task or privilege you can call. But when it comes to setups and all, mostly it's you should call it as a task only. So that's how we have. Now here is a task list. This you can call as this icon. You can call as a task list or a task pan. So click on this task list. It will display the list of tasks which are available inside of the task list. And now we are going to create implementation project. To create the implementation project, hit this task. Everything we got hyperlinks. You see here everywhere, anyway. So hit this manage implementation project task. Click on manage implementation projects. And this is a practice instance. So in the fresh instance, this is how you can see the page. When you come to this page, this is how you see. You don't see any projects, but this is the practice instance. You can see many projects. Many projects. Okay, so everybody is practicing. So that's how it is. In case of fresh instance, when you are working for your client, you don't see any projects, you have to create the first project. That may be one or multiple, depends. You have to create the first project. So if you want to create the first project, how to create it? Here you see plus icon to create. Click on this plus icon to create the new project. When you click on the plus icon, it is fetching some default data. It is taking the name as implementation project 12. Again, if you try to create one more, it will create as 13, 14, 15. These are the default unique names they are providing, but always we just update as per our requirement. Say, for example, you are implementing for a company called as American Express. Short name is Amex, American Express. In fact, they are using the Oracle applications. So Oracle is implemented for them. So now you want to implement Fusion for them. They are using EBS, previous releases or versions. Now they want to move to Fusion. So there is no other option like where simply they can upgrade from previous to latest. You have to do as a fresh implementation, like re-implementation. As of now, there is no solution from Oracle to upgrade from EBS to Fusion. It has to be done as a separate implementation. You should treat EBS as a legacy and your current application is Fusion. So provide the name. Say we are going to implement for a company called as Amex, American Express. I'm giving the name as Amex implementation project. The numbers and all you can remove. And use tab, the same will be copied as a code and description also. And the start status. So when you are going to start the setups, okay, we are creating this project to do the setups only. So when you are going to start doing the setups, that you can set in this environment. Okay, once you start doing the setups, you can change the status from not started to started, or you can say in progress. Okay, in progress. So that's what you can say. We'll see this. As of now, you notice the implementation project status is not started. When it will be started, when you start doing the setups, you can set as a started. And assign to, the field is optional. Assign to field is optional. It is taking our current user. The project is assigned to this cloud ERP user. If you don't want to assign the project to anyone, no issues. Still, you can associate this project to the team members. Project level, you are not assigning. And who needs to create this project? As a part of real implementation, who needs to create this project? Not project manager at all. Being a consultant, we create. This is not a actual project management. It is not related to project, which is related to project management. It is management related to setups in the system, which is a part of your project. So please understand, project manager is not going to touch this project creation. This is related to setup process. So we create as a consultant. Any consultant can create it. And start date. So when you are going to kickstart your setups. Okay. When you are going to kickstart your setup related engagement in the system, that date you can give. You are going to start from today. And what is the tentative finish date? May not be exact date. What is the tentative approximate date that you can set here? You are planning to complete all the setups within 1 week. Yes, possible. Okay. Within 1 week, you are planning to complete all the setups. Now, so what are the offerings and options you are going to implement for your client, Amex, that you have to select? You click on next. Wait for a moment. It has to fetch. It has to identify which offerings and options are already enabled. Only those offerings and options it will display for selection. You say you didn't enable financials. If you don't enable financials, you don't see in this list. Now you are able to see almost all the offerings and options. It means All are enabled in this instance. Now you can include what you are going to implement as for Amex client. So you have to include. Say we are going to implement financials. So include financials. When you try to include financials, it is expanding. You notice here. I selected financials and included, it's expanding. And at the offering level, we clearly noticed we have a general ledger application inside of financials. Since you don't have any choice to say yes or no, it will come by default. Here, there is no option of choosing general ledger. If you are including financials, think you are including general ledger by default. So apart from that, if you are going to implement payables, enable it. Payables, enable it. So if you want to implement expense, vision expense, enable it. To implement fixed assets, enable it. To implement revenue management, enable it. To implement the function or functionality or feature called as intercompany, enable it. To implement budget and budget concept, enable it, nothing but include it. And you want to get this complete applications data into the business intelligence server for reporting or analysis purpose, enable the relevant also. Enable. So you no need to enable cash management exclusive. You don't need to enable. Already we have seen at offering level that is there as a part of payables and receivables. So you get it automatically. Okay, since if you select payables, you will get payables plus cash management, or if you select receivables, you will get receivables plus cash management. So here it is not displaying receivables. It means we didn't select. Okay, we didn't enable. So we disabled and later we enabled only financials and payables and these few applications. Seems to receivables we didn't enable. Offering level is missing, so it is not coming here. No worries, we'll go back and we'll enable. Again, I'll show you if you don't select now, later how you can select the offerings and all. When we discuss all those points, once again, I'll take you through that. Okay, so this is how you can include whatever you are going to implement for your client. If you are going to implement SCM, include relevant areas. Okay, you can include order management, you can include procurement, you can include product management. These three will support your SCM applications. If you are going to implement only procurement, enable or include procurement. Again, within the procurement, which applications? Purchasing application, self-service application. Okay. So supplier invoice processing also is a part of it, but just they given if some client wants to use only payables along with the procurement. In such kind of scenarios, you can just select, but now anyway, we have financials in place. So that is not required. Anything, other applications, supplier portal, sourcing application, supplier qualification, procurement contracts. Okay, you can get into all this. So this is how you can select whatever you required and say save and open project. When you click on save and open project, system will identify which offerings and options are selected. To implement the selected offerings and options, what setups need to be performed, including mandatory and optional. It will create the task list. It will create different folder options. For payables, one folder options by listing out all the setups, again with the subclassification of setups. For receivables, general ledger, take any application, it will create the separate master folders. Within that, you can find the child folders. Finally, you can find the tasks. So that's how system will create. So it takes some time. It may take a couple of minutes time also to generate multiple tasks, which we selected as a offerings and options. So meantime, any questions, please? Meantime, any questions? For each option level, you can see here the description also. If you place the cursor, what we have inside of it. When you talk about the fusion expense, okay, you can see that pop up. It's gone. Now we are in our project. This is our project. The project we selected offerings as a financials and a procurement. offerings as a financials and procurement you selected. Now say you started working on this project. Entire project level, you can update the status. By default, the status is not started. So this you can call as project basic information or header information. So these details you can change, except this field, anything you can change at any point of time. Click on edit. Say you started doing the setups, you can update the status from not started to in progress. If anybody look at this project, they can understand. Yes, consultants started working on this project to perform the setups. Only related to setups. Don't connect any other activity with this, only related to setups. And you can change anytime the dates and all. This is just for information purpose only. Okay, and we will do the some scheduling, due dates, etc. will give. There also it will help us. The task is completed or need to be when it has to be completed within the due date, it is completed or overdue. Everything the system can capture. We will see all those things, but this is for entire project level. Say save and close. So we updated. Now status is in progress. The same way, if you started working on financials, financial status also you can set. Click on the status and say in progress. So you started working on the financials. Anyone can see and understand. So somebody is working on the financials. And along with this, what we can do is we can do the assignments also. So who are working for financials? If not for entire financials, who is working for payables application, which consultant is working for receivables, you can do the assignments. Okay. And you can set the status if it is completed as a completed, if it is in progress, in progress. So this is all you can set. Okay, this is all you can set. So I want to stop here for today. From next weekend, we'll spend good amount of time, like since the vacation or festival season is running, we don't see many people. So that is the reason, like from next week onwards, weekend onwards, we'll just we'll stretch to good amount of time to cover many topics. So for today, I'm stopping here. If you have any questions, please stay back. We will discuss. If no questions, we'll connect in the next weekend. Thank you all. See you the next weekend. Any questions, please?
Lakshman.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. For yesterday and today's class, recording you are providing, isn't it?
Correct. You will get it. You'll get it. The first and second videos already uploaded in YouTube.
Yeah.
Yesterday and today, I'll upload today itself.
Yeah, because I want to sink in. Actually, today's class is good, in fact, but I just want to go again, I just want to sink in one more time.
Yeah, definitely. You will get video. If you are attending classes, you will get videos.
Yeah.
And one more thing, if you want from previous batch also, you can get it. Maybe that depends on your subscription. Once you subscribe, you will get complete previous batch videos also immediately, along with the current batch.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep in touch with the team. They can help you.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Great. So any other questions from anyone? Cool. No questions. So then that's all for today. Have a great weekend and great winning year ahead. Thank you all.
Yeah, wish you happy new year. Wish you happy new year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wish you happy new year.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Wish you very, very happy new year to everyone once again. Yeah.
But Lakshman, I have one question actually. So when you are doing this implementation project, so we'll be doing the same steps again with you. We create one case study like a project, and we'll be doing on parallel with you. Isn't it like I have my own project? End of the day, like after a weekend,
exactly.
in the weekday, I'll do my implementation.
Same you replicate from your end. I took a Amex, you may take some your company or some client.
Correct.
Whatever I'm going to show how to create this, that you create, that's how you can do hands-on.
Okay.
And the complete training, I will drive you through the approach of real-time implementation only. See what exactly we do in real time, what is the sequence, what we consider, what we don't consider, what we have to take in what way. Everything I'm going to cover. I'm not going to use any sample data. I'm going to cover everything from the scratch. Everything we do, how we do in the real implementation.
Oh.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm not going to refer any existing data. It's a very, very bad practice when you learn.
That would be better. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Yes, we'll follow so that even you will be able to exercise the same when you are practicing.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. So if no questions, we'll just, we can wrap up. If any questions, let me know. Good, no questions. Thank you all.